Good afternoon, YouTubers. I have a problem with the steering wheel. If you're looking at this, doesn't it look like I'm driving a bus down the street? I have power steering now. I don't need it anymore. I had performed a steering reduction. So this is what I'll show you the few steps it takes to do it. Simple. Probably cost you under 50 bucks. So stay tuned. Okay. Now, remember, this steering wheel is quite big. So I picked this up at the Pomona swap meet for like 3 bucks. So I'm going to make this go on this. See how there's a difference, almost quite a bit. So I'll show you the next step what to do. I'm drawing a circle with the old steering wheel so I could find center. Next, I got a square and I drew a line on it to try to get center on the bottom. Using a level sometimes will be off because this table might be off. So a square is the best way to go and make sure it's on the flat surface. So when I put the square on, you see how I could be off a little bit just by doing that. So now I got it pretty close to where it needs to go. Now I'm going to draw your circle. If you got a different way of doing it, do it. I know how guys are. They always think they're better than anyone else. So if you got a better way of laying it out, go for it. Okay. All right. The next one is this beautiful steering wheel. I don't know what it came off of, but now we're gonna find center off of this. Okay. So we're gonna put it down like this. Measure it in different places. And then we'll find center and I'll draw the line next. Alright, I'm going to draw a line on both sides, back and front, so it'll give me an idea of where to cut the 57 wheel. So I'm just marking it in here like so. Alright, next video. Okay. Now I'm going to get the square and hold it on the side right there. I'm going to mark it on this tape. I put some tape on here so I could at least see what I'm doing. I'm going to do it on all the sides, both sides, front and back. As I go around here, I'm just going to put the square on this, draw a line there, draw a line there, and okay, now I'm ready to cut. Alright, now you see my lines and you know where the horn ring ends is right here. So I'm going to check these dimensions. 1¼ here, 1¼ here also. So the dimensions seem to work out great off the center. So my dimensions are correct. Now I'm ready to cut. Next step, I cut it with this grinder. You could use a different tool, but I'm so used to these, I like to use them all the time. So what I do, I'm going to cut it. I started cutting already. See where you see the sparks? Kind of stop. Same thing with this. It's a little harder to get here. Alright, now I said earlier that you cut it till you hit the spark. There's a wire inside through the whole perimeter of the wheel. So you don't want to cut it off right away. You want to kind of have something so you can weld the other wheel on. So I'm going to continue cutting this and then I'll show you the next move after this. Alright, I'm going to cut through the wheel now. It doesn't matter where you cut it at. No turning back. Now I'm going to cut off I'm going to break this plastic off from where this line is right here on both sides. Okay. You can take me to the vise and I'll show you. Now I'm going to see, I took the tape off. Now I'm just going to get any kind of hammer and try to break this off. It might take a little effort. I'm going to do that on both sides until I get the wire exposed. So this is the first run on this one. Let me do the other side a little better. Next, I'm going to cut this steering wheel, get rid of the center section. Just going to cut it here and here. Alright, this is the part that you have to concentrate on. I just figured the best way is just clamp a straight edge in the back on the back of the wheel, so it sits nice and flat on both sides. Then I got two squares, butted the two squares together, clamped it on both sides, and then I had to have this part right here square to the hole that's down here. So I had a little something that's square in there, so it squared it up. So everything's square now. So now I have to maintain the same dimension from here to there, and from here to there. Now which was 4 3/4, but every wheel is different, so you'll just have to figure that out yourself. You know, you need to be an octopus or have a bunch of clamps. My wife claims that I'm an octopus, but I haven't found my other hand, so I have to use clamps. Next, I'm gonna see where I have it landing. I'm gonna put a tape on both sides so I don't cut too much of this stuff off. I'm gonna do it on this side also, so that'll tell me where to cut to expose the metal. I wish it would have landed the same spot, but usually it doesn't, so this is something you have to be prepared for. I'll show you how to repair the wheel. It's not that big of a deal. Use epoxy. So now next thing I'm gonna is make a mark. I'm just gonna eyeball it down on both sides, make a mark. This one I might have to get rid of more of this Bakelite. Now remember, when you cut this stuff is dusty, it's bad for you. I'm sure it's got cancer stuff in there and whatnot, so when you do it, wear a mask. I usually never wear a mask, but this stuff is so nasty that I wear a mask. Now I'm ready to weld this. See, I put everything back in place. Move the camera over here to show you. See, now the metal's touching metal. Squared it off again. It dropped it down, of course. So I made sure the dimensions maintained the same there. I put this just to hold the wheel down because it's kind of a wonky table. You're best to have a nice flat table. This is a piece of plywood, so it's not the best way of doing it. This is just a demonstration. I just fly by the wheel. That's how I do things. So I'm gonna tack it, and the next move I'm gonna just leave it tacked, and I'm gonna take it to the car, and I'm gonna make sure it's nice and square in the car. You know, you look at me and I have glasses, you think I'm pretty smart, huh? Well, look at the steering wheel. You see what's wrong with the steering wheel? Everything's perfect, but look what happened. I put it on backwards. Now I gotta correct it. Now here it is, test fitting inside, put it in place, so I can tilt it. Nice and roomy. Here's the old one. See, quite a big difference. I wouldn't be able to tilt it. It would be on my lap. So the next step I'm going to do is fix all these destroyed pieces. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to sandblast it, clean this all up, and then the next step I'll show you how to fix this. Now I have it sandblasted. Also, I used heavy-duty degreaser, and after I use the heavy-duty degreaser, I use the acetone. The acetone removed the rest of the gunk and the grime, nose boogers or whatever was on the steering wheel, and then also too, it melts it just a little bit. I noticed the acetone kind of gives it a nice uh, base for the epoxy to dry on. So what I do is where I'm going, where all the cracks are and all the broken pieces, I'll put acetone on it. And also, if you notice where the cracks are, I put a hash mark across the crack, so it's like a T also here. And I did it everywhere that needed repairs, right here and a little bit here, and I made it kind of jagged so the epoxy will go in and really stick to this stuff. And what I use is this stuff right here. It's a 2-part epoxy. You can see it. They sell it at Home Depot, Harbor Freight, and the auto parts store. JB Weld makes it, but this is actually the one from Harbor Freight, and the one from Harbor Freight works much better. My personal opinion. Your opinion could be very. It dries harder and it dries quicker, and it also is cheaper. Okay, now this stuff, you have to knead it. It takes a couple minutes. Make sure it's totally kneaded together because you want it to dry all the way through, in and out. You don't want to just kind of mix it a little bit. You want to spend a little time kneading this. That's why you wear gloves. If you don't wear gloves, this stuff kind of has a weird odor to it and it's hard to get it off your hands. So now now it's all kneaded. And what I do is just put it together like this. Shape it. And just give it a little bit of an angle to it. This, I relieved it because it was so close to the edge of the wheel and it was sticking too far up. So right now I'm just doing it rough. So as you see it, time will tell how nice it'll come out. But right now it's a little rough because you're working with time. You don't have much time to work on this stuff. So you got about 2 minutes, 3 minutes of working time, maybe 5 minutes. Just depends on the weather. If it's hot, it dries quite fast. But today is a little cooler. Our freezing California weather, which is only 60 degrees. That's for you people back east. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Cut. All right, now I got this epoxy. It's dried up pretty good. As you see, I molded it pretty decent. So now I just got a pretty rough file. I'm just going to file it down. It doesn't matter if some of the chunks fall off. You just want to get it as smooth as you can. This will take a few attempts to get it right. You're gonna have some low spots, some high spots. So you just gotta keep working on it. You're working with something round, so it's kind of like you just gotta freehand it and play around a little bit with it. So, okay, this is the process. Hey, again, take a look at this. We're almost there. It's getting there. So now it's all sanded down nicely. I put a little bit of glazing putty for where the deep scratches were. Don't use too much of it. Just use it just for the scratches and a little bit of pits and stuff. I'm gonna primer with 2-part epoxy primer, and then from there I'm gonna paint it black. So let's see what's next. Hey, again, look at it's all painted up now. Take a look at it, come up closer. And you got all the little divots all nice and smooth. Painted it with a good 2-part paint, car paint. And this is the original type ring that goes in it. And look how nice it fits. It's quite small looking now, but it works. It would be looks really nice now. I like this better than the aftermarket ones. The aftermarket ones are kind of fat and they kind of look, you know, they look aftermarket. And what I like about it is did it yourself, and it didn't cost me much. I mean, it didn't cost me much at all. Probably about 10, 12 bucks to make it, you know, all together. And I already had the paint, so if you just put your mind to it, you can do anything.